let's start with Don Lemon, a guy, and this is why I think we may disagree on some really fundamental issues, but I bet you we would actually end up liking each other to this degree. He's unpredictable. And because of that, it shows that he is actually independently thinking. He's not lockstep with anybody else. And I can I can like pretty much anybody who is just not in lockstep with the rest of society. The guy who does his independent homework and comes up with his own conclusions.
It shows you that he's got a chance, at least, of being an honest broker.
Yeah,
and
because he's doing his own homework.
Yeah, and you can find common ground with those guys.
Yes, you can. So we might disagree on a whole bunch of stuff, but here's what he said recently about political correctness.
Political correctness has become dangerous. We have to stop looking for reasons to be offended.
Oh, amen.
We have to allow people leeway to make mistakes in conversations without calling them racists, bigots, stupid, dumb, sellout, or whatever your word choice may be, on and on. Not everyone is going to, or should they, have to agree with you. In fact, it's better when people don't agree with you. That's how we learn. That's what conversation is really about. It's not supposed to be an agree fest. After almost 25 years in the news business, you know who is the most easily offended and the least tolerant? Liberals and progressives.
Yep.
Because many of them don't really want to hear anyone else's opinions but their own. Here's a tip. If you only agree with people who hold your same political affiliation or who are of your particular race, your particular gender, or ethnicity, you are part of the political correctness run-amok problem.
Wow.
Could we get him on the air? I'd like to get him on the air because I've disagreed with him a lot of times. I've agreed with him a lot of times. And we have pointed this out. He seems to be an honest broker. And I would like to see if he'd be willing to have a conversation with me. Because he's the kind of guy that you can make progress with. And I don't mean progress like we can further our agenda. We might be able to win. I mean, we can heal our nation because he's right on that. It's not supposed to be an agree fest. Think of this. The president doesn't meet with anybody who doesn't agree with him as far as on the spectrum. He doesn't actually sit down and say, okay, Tea Party, tell me what he just mocks them, ridicules them, and tries to destroy them. Many people on the right do the same thing. But as Don just said, I really do believe that the least tolerant of this are liberals and progressives. And here's why. In a way, it's not really their fault. They are centered in, like, for instance, New York City. So there's not a lot of disagreement there. And they're used to groupthink. They all just hang out with each other, and they're used to groupthink. So when somebody comes in, they're just a local yokel. They're just somebody from the other side of the river, and they don't know what they're talking about. They're not as educated. They're not as rich. They're not as whatever as we are. They're not as enlightened as we are. And so they just immediately dismiss. And they don't like to be challenged at all. And that's because the progressive roots are the roots of fascism. That is historically accurate. You can deny it all you want and say it's not that way today, but I will tell you that if you do your homework, you will find the progressive roots are the roots of fascism and communism. Period.